We are back in one of my favourite places, and that is Google Sheets. And today I'm going to be using it to break down why modern dating has become such a minefield for frustration. Because I've identified what I think is a key driver for this situation that is leading people to be lonely, isolated, and feeling like they're going to give up. So I'm going to take you through this video so you can become an expert as well and avoid this trap and live a life without having to suffer through this kind of misery. What I've identified as this main driver for frustration, nice, is this: that dating and relationships do not have a linear relationship between effort and reward. So, what does that mean? Why is that important and why is it relevant? Well, if we break down what we really want, and that is a linear relationship between the effort we put in as people, our input here, we want to have something that pops out with some reward. Like, we don't like it if all we're doing is just putting in effort, and we don't get anything back. So we want to feel like our reward is coming up equal to our effort, so that our inputs are matching our outputs. And that's what we really like. But if we compare that to the dynamic of relationships, well, from a simple perspective, if we look at relationships, more often than not, it looks something like this, where you're putting in effort, and you're putting in a bit more effort, and even a bit after that, and you don't actually have anything to show for it. Maybe you are going on dates, maybe you're approaching and speaking to girls. More likely though, I would predict this is what you're doing. You're spending your time swiping. And you might not see that as a lot of effort, but the average Tinder user spends 35 minutes every single day on the app. So that's swiping and sending messages. And I can definitely relate to that. Of younger me, you know the story where you match with someone, it seems to be going great, you send some messages forward, they send some back, and it all culminates in this time you're meant to meet up. But then it comes to the day, and you don't hear from them. And then maybe that's all it is, or maybe you get a message an hour before that they're not able to make it. And then all that effort that you put in didn't amount to any reward. It left you down here. And this is what causes such a challenging dynamic, and why relationships, compared to other areas of life, are such a difficult thing for us to try and master. Because if we reach, say, this point right here, where you've been putting in effort, well, how our brain naturally works is we tend to reflect backwards on what's happened previous to predict the future. And we hit a point where it just feels like nothing's going to happen. We're predicting out that no matter what we do, nothing's really going to happen for us. However, in relationships, that doesn't tend to be how it works. We start to see something a little bit more like this, where we're going, and then we finally meet someone we like, and we get that relationship. And it just kind of comes out of nowhere. But you were putting in effort that entire time, and it just wasn't paying off till we hit this point here. And if you look at these two charts, you can see they look nothing alike each other. And this is where that frustration comes from. And it's not like all desirable things in our life follow this pattern. If we look at a really simple breakdown of fitness as a goal, you know what? If you go to the gym, if you put in the reps, you get under the bench press, you do some squats, you do start to see results. And yeah, this is a very straightforward line, but even when we take a more advanced look at how fitness tends to work, we've all seen this. Anyone that's done some exercise has gone to the gym and spent those first 2 weeks where it sucks, where nothing's working out for you, you just feel like hell. But after that, we enter noob gains, and it absolutely skyrockets up for us. And we feel really good because our effort has been rewarded. And then even though we eventually hit this kind of plateau point where it becomes more incremental improvement, we're still following that feedback loop of reward that we had when we were just firing up. And that's why fitness is something that I think people have a lot easier time adapting to and being able to build up. Whilst relationships, they all lag behind. Because even if we take a potentially more advanced look at relationships, because it's not always that we have nothing, nothing, nothing. I think you know this, you've been in this situation where maybe it's nothing, nothing, nothing. And then you get a girl's number and things are quite good. But then she ghosts you. And then you get a date. But then it doesn't go very well. And you can start to see this kind of roller coaster ride that we go through when we're trying to work on our ability to have relationships. And it's draining that so many times we get reset back to zero. And if you considered this, if this was fitness, it'd be the equivalent of spending all summer building up your physique, getting abs. You know, you've got abs for the summer, and then you wake up one day and they've just fucking gone. And now your mate's got abs and you haven't. And it's just vanished. You're back down at square one. And that would be devastating. That would leave you feeling particularly jaded. Which takes us to our next point. Because we end up in this situation where we're investing all this effort, but we don't seem to get any reward. The best way to see this is check out the distance between these two, of the effort levels to reward that you put in. What this does is allow people to just become jaded with the whole process. So they'll suggest that they're not looking for relationships, they don't want to. And if they're truly honest with themselves, it's usually down to the fact that they don't feel like their effort is going to pay off. So they try to fall back on the idea of, oh, I just want it to happen naturally. Oh, you shouldn't be looking for relationships. You should just focus on yourself. Which is like, yeah, definitely focus on yourself. I wouldn't advise anyone just to be, all I'm going to do is speak to people. But the issue is, the advice to just try and do things naturally is outdated. It belongs to a bygone era. One of my favourite Alex Hormozy quotes is in relation to this, where he says that volume will always conquer look. So if you have enough volume, you will never need look. And the issue is, in the past, we used to have a crap ton of volume. We would meet girls all over the place. You would find all new people at work where you actually went to the office. You'd go to social clubs. You just have a community. So you don't actually need to be lucky because you had so much volume. The issue is nowadays, people are still operating as if that's the case, where they think, oh, I'm just going to meet someone at the supermarket. When is the last time you've accidentally bumped into someone and had a great relationship with a person you met at the supermarket? It doesn't happen. So, what is the usual play is people do lean into this kind of jaded mentality that, oh, I'm just not really looking for it. I'm not interested in dating. And I see this a lot in our comments section of people saying that they're just checking out of the dating market. But I also see it in the data that 50% of single men claim that they are no longer looking for a relationship. And that's not just, oh, they're not looking for anything long term. That's no relationships at all. That is no interactions with girls. They have quite literally checked themselves out of the dating market. And that's really sad to see. And I think it is, simply put, down to this reward versus effort in the relationship between reward and effort. And I'm painting a pretty grim picture here of what it is like in the modern dating market. And it's almost worth suggesting, well, are the relationships even worth it? Should I even continue to put in the effort? Should I do this? Because maybe you're in this period where it's like nothing's really happening for you and you're just stuck here where nothing is happening. Well, I've got one big stat that I want to put forward for why I think you can never give up on relationships. And that is that the single biggest predictor of positive health outcomes in your life and satisfaction is not being in shape, it's not wealth, it's not status, it is the quality of your relationships. Picture that your health outcomes are more reliant on the quality of your relationships than they are being obese or being in shape. That is incredible. And this is because we have such a reliance on people that they are the most fulfilling parts of our entire lives. If you consider when people are on their deathbed, what do they speak about? What do they call out for? Isn't the fucking jet ski that they bought 30 years ago? It's their close relationships. And I know that absolutely sucks because maybe you've had a difficult time of it and you have not been able to have anything in return for your effort. But you know what? I've been there. If we look at this chart, this definitely feels like me. That I'll let you in on a secret. Like, I went on my first ever date when I was 17 years old, and it was a complete disaster. I turned up, rose in hand, desperate for her to like me. I was needy, I was unattractive, and despite obviously getting that date, it crashed and burned so fast. And that really sucked. I went home lonely and pretty miserable. But it did make me realise something. That for me, relationships, dating, it simply wasn't going to come easy. It was something that I was going to have to work on and develop. And so I did. I started working on myself. But even then, despite my first date being at 17, I didn't get my first girlfriend until I was 21 years old. I spent 4 years working on myself and developing who I was as a person. And then, all of a sudden, 4 years passed, I suddenly got a load of interest and it skyrocketed. But I remember so many times being in this stretch of just being like, is it really worth it for me? Is this even worth it? Should I even continue bothering with this? And that is what I want to get across with this video. More than anything, this isn't something to make you feel bad about relationships and to just rant on the state of modern relationships. It's a call out to my younger self or to anyone else that's in that position where they feel like they've had a bad run, that maybe you're sat there and the girl you liked has flaked on you again, or maybe she just ghosted you. And every single time that you try and get up, it feels like you get hit down and you're just back at zero again. And you're like, well, maybe I should just do other things. That's the difficulty. That's what makes modern dating so difficult, because you will lose time and time again until you finally win and you get all the reward you want. And this is one of the most fundamental things that I'm so happy I learned, and it took me quite a lot of years of experience, that it only takes one yes to make 100 no's worth it. That you can go through and suffer rejection after rejection after rejection, but that one yes, it just makes everything seem to be part of the plan and part of what your journey was for you. It's almost hilarious that you look back and start to see all of your previous rejections, all those falls back to zero, as funny. They were part of the tutorial before the main video game started and you start to play the game. And I know it's difficult for men because they're put in a challenging scenario. It's almost like, you know, the meme of we've got an entry-level job, but we're looking for someone with 5 years experience. That is men in the dating market, that they need experience to be able to handle relationships and be able to be a man who can lead, but they don't have any experience. So they have to keep failing all the time to try and gain that. And it sucks. but it is a necessary part. And I wouldn't want any other guy to start joining this 50% of men that, because of this void of effort and reward, they're just becoming jaded and they're checking out because they're going to miss one of the biggest and most important things that's ever going to happen in their life. And I know this is fucking difficult. I've spent those nights feeling sad, alone, and just depressed in this kind of void. But let's get a little cheesy. One of my favourite quotes is from The Dark Knight, and it is this, that the night is always darkest just before the dawn. And for you, I honestly believe it. If you're the guy that's still been putting in effort all this time, it's only right around the corner for you. That modern dating is challenging. I think it's what makes modern dating specifically more challenging as well is the fact that everything we have is instant. It's the fast food, it's the fucking Netflix that is ready to go as soon as you turn it on. And this trains our brain to just think that everything is going to be this way, and it can't comprehend why relationships aren't this way. Why can't we just have a relationship on demand? That's what Tinder's promise was, and Tinder is an absolute scam. I have so many problems that they prey on the loneliness of men. They are not interested in giving you dates. They want to keep you on the app because otherwise they lose money. So whilst Tinder promises to be that solution for you, it truly isn't. They have no interest in finding you a partner. What they want to do is keep you putting in that effort with no reward around the corner. It does not want you to get a mate. And that is why it's so difficult in the modern era. And it's why it's so frustrating. So I want people to trust in themselves that the effort that they're putting in, it will truly pay off. And that just because it doesn't happen for you on the first person, the second person, or the third person, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It just means that maybe there was not a compatibility and you have to work on yourself that extra bit more. But it's never worth getting jaded. Because if you turn around when you're 80, if you spent that entire time being single, if you're truly honest with yourself, you'll know you didn't live the life that you truly wanted to live. So, my message to anyone out there that's listening to this right now is that stay in the game, develop, work on yourself, and then you will start to get the relationships that you deserve. All you have to do is hang in past that frustration.